some MLB picks. Today's podcast is presented by Flash. So if you think you're ready to level up your prop betting game, use code PTM at sign up to get 25% off your first month. How you guys doing? You like my Mike and the Mad Dog, Chris Russo impersonation?
It's good.
I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar with them, Mike?
Little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. All right. I just need one of you guys to say first time, long time on this podcast, and then we'll be all good.
Yeah, you're appealing to the New York audience there. You froze up a little during the intro too, so it kind of like ruined your flow. But but to summarize, go and sign up for props.cash today. Is basically what Tom was saying, because it truly is the best analytics software out there. All three of us would agree with that.
We might need to get like a loud personality on here for the podcast, like Mad Dog or something. Somebody who's loud and angry all the time.
Yeah, Tom's working on that. He's definitely the higher energy of the two of us. But yeah, maybe that'll be your role today. Let's see what kind of heat you can bring for us, Mike. All right, so baseball has been great. I expected the first week of the season to be, kind of slow and us to not like be cashing a ton of tickets as we're going into this soft, but it's been pretty good, right, so far, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know that you can, credit it to any one thing, but, the MLB has changed a lot of rules in the past couple of years. Games are faster. There's more emphasis on, really things that help scoring. Stealing bases are easier, rules for the pitch clock that are going to make the game faster and more up pace. So it's definitely more fun to watch. I know I have a lot of friends who weren't watching baseball before that are now. So it's definitely good for the game. And it's been good for, gambling too, for sure, for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think between all of our contributors, or with the exception of Tom and I, are getting into a little MLB. So and you guys have all been doing really great. So in the PTM Discord. So let's keep it rolling today. We got a big slate today, but and I think the games start in about an hour, 1 p.m. Eastern time. But we're gonna jump right into a player prop. We're gonna go to the Rays at the Rockies. The Rays, that's your team, right? The Rays, am I right?
Yeah, that's my AL team. I gotta still have the home team love for the Pirates, but the Rays are my team. I always love Randy Arozarena, and of course, the only jersey I bought in 10 years I have to burn because he's no longer with the league anymore.
Yeah. He's dealing with his own problems. But so we got the Rays off to a what are they 3-4 to start the season, and then the Rockies are at the Rockies 1-6. So the Rockies are not so great. Rays are minus 170 in this game, so I actually thought that was probably some decent value there in itself, given how poorly the Rockies are playing. We got Littell at Gomber today, and I know you're on a hitting prop, so why don't you start us off with that one?
Yeah, so I mean, looking at a few games, and I'll mention it maybe once or twice here today. Going into a new series as we do every Friday for the weekend, it's always good to look at travel schedule. How many time zones are they crossing? Where are they coming from? How did the games go before they left? I've heard MLB players talk about it's almost easier to be away because you're in a hotel. The only thing you're focusing on is games. You come home, and sometimes there's that lag. You still have to go home. You have your family. You have chores to do. It's almost better to be away sometimes. So considering all those things, and definitely this time of year, weather as well, it's been off and on snowing here in Pittsburgh today. So that great matchup in the Pittsburgh Pirates game, there could be some snow and rain. But for this one, they're traveling up to Colorado. It's the first games in Colorado, which is always a huge boost to hitting props, especially for players like Nolan Jones, who have struggled a little bit here to start off the season. And if you look at his last 10 at home that he finished the season off with last year, he hit 8 out of 10 at home on over 1.5 total bases. And that's my play to start off the day here is Nolan Jones in Colorado over 1.5 total bases. So again, he can get 2 singles, 1 double in the first at bat and cover for us. Either way, I like him to get there. That's minus 110 on MGM is the best odds for that one, I believe. And, like I said, he ended the season 8-10 at home. He hit a triple off with Littell in Tampa last season in the Dome at the Trop. And the wind is also blowing out heavy in Colorado today. So, you'll notice the first half over underline that's usually 4.5 in most games, sometimes 3.5. It's at 6.5 a day, 6.5 today for a reason.
Wow.
That game's going to see some scoring with the elevation in Colorado and the wind blowing out at double digits. So I love Nolan to get there. Really, this year he's had a number of, I want to say definitely over 5. I can't remember the total number, but over 105 mile per hour off the bat. But he's only really barreled one so far this season. So he's not quite getting it fully, but he's still smashing the ball. So I like that to break in this series here. And Zach Littell is not a pitcher that's going to go up there and dominate. A lot of times guys, when they go to Colorado for the first time, struggle with some of that consistency. So I like Nolan today.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome buy low opportunity, right? Like you mentioned, started off the season kind of cold, right? He's only cleared this in 2 out of his first 7 games, hasn't cleared it in 4 straight games. So everybody's looking at this as like a real, bad opportunity. But the reality is this is his first home game, right? He played first series in Arizona, second series in Chicago. Now he gets the benefits of the home field over in Colorado, which is like no other environment in any other stadium, right?
Yep.
And I love the other point, just to emphasize that you utilize the team totals or the game totals to almost help guide you towards a play on offensive play on Jones. So I think that's a really smart thing to do, is kind of look at the total runs that are expected to be scored either for that team or for the total game, and use that to help give you confidence when you're going for a player like Jones who's going to buck the recent trend. So
it's just like we do with NBA, right? You look at the spread, you look at the the total in the game, and those are the games that you lean on more heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so great play there. Let's move on. That game's at 4 p.m., so lock that one in fairly soon. You got about 4 hours till that one starts off. We're going to skip over our next 4 p.m. game, and we're going to jump to the 7 p.m. slate so that we can cover another player prop. So let's talk about the D-backs and the Braves. The Braves are minus 280 in this game, so heavy favorites. D-backs are 4-3 to start the season. Braves are 3-2. Nobody in the NL East really wants to win, it seems, including our beloved Mets, who finally put up their first win yesterday. But we got Henry and Strider in this game. I know you're loving Strider. Why don't you tell us a little bit about him today?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to love Strider in any game. There's certain matchups where maybe the numbers are a little too high on books, but he's always going to get his numbers. Especially I like Strider today. The way I'm playing this today is Spencer Strider with 9+ strikeouts / Braves to win at plus 165 on FanDuel. That's a player performance double you'll see as you scroll down the homepage on that matchup. He had 8 Ks in his first outing in only 5 innings. And that was in Philadelphia, first game of the year. Atmosphere's there. It was a little colder. So for him to get 8 and 5 is a good sign to start the season. He's added that curveball, really worked on that curveball in the offseason. And now he has a D-backs who, again, they're traveling across the country. This is their first away game. This is opening day for the Braves in Atlanta, which should be a hyped atmosphere for Spencer. And he actually has more strikeouts than hits allowed to everyone on the D-backs roster, except for Jace Peterson, which we're not worried about. And also, he had 30 more strikeouts last season at home than away on the same amount of innings, which is a good sign for him. And as far as the other side of this play, with the Braves finishing the win, you have the lefty Tommy Henry, who got hit hard in his first outing and got behind in a lot of counts. Which puts players on base, crowd gets louder, pressure's on Tommy Henry. The lefty had a 5.05 ERA away last season, and the Braves bullpen is top 3, while the D-backs is more middle of the pack, top of the bottom half as far as the bullpen goes, which always matters because we want Spencer to get that 9, go hard into 6 or 7 innings, and then let the bullpen finish off the win for us.
Yeah, that sounds like a great spot. So what did you say the odds were on that? 164
plus 165 on FanDuel.
165 on FanDuel. So let me present. I love that. I think that's a smash play, especially given his track record at home. Let me just present an alternative way to play this and see what your thoughts are. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, you could do Strider 8 strikeouts and Braves money line. Basically the same play, just 1 strikeout less. You're giving up a lot, right? That goes from plus 165 down to minus 115. But obviously that captures this, the first game of the season where he had 8 strikeouts. So thoughts on that as maybe a more conservative approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, if it's, if you want to play it a little safe, then absolutely. If he got 8 in Philadelphia, there's no way he doesn't get 8 today.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty safe one. If you just look over his last 30 games, what is that? Our last 30? Yeah, he's hit this in 77% of games. If you go up to 9, he's got that in 60% of games. And if those are home games, sorry. So I think either of those are pretty good metrics, and Braves should win this one. I love that play. All right. Don't love supporting the Braves, first of all, as a Mets fan, but
yes,
they are good. We'll give them that. All right, let's go to our last player prop. This is kind of a sneaky way of doing a player prop. So we got the Red Sox at the Angels. Both of these teams is it fair to say they're outperforming expectations? The Red Sox are 5-2 on the season, and the Angels are 4-2. Angels are favored in this game, minus 115. Were either of these teams expected to be good this year?
No, I mean, I think, the Angels, if anybody, are outperforming for sure. But the Red Sox, too. The Red Sox have some good bats that as long as they put things together, for example, Trevor Story, if he bounces back this season, that's huge for their roster. Duran is awesome and going to steal a lot of bases at that leadoff spot this season, which he already has. And, but that pitching staff has been the question mark there, along with the back end of the order. So they're both outperforming, but I would say the Angels are absolutely. And again, you have to consider who they played and everything. I don't think the Marlins are going to be very good this season. So kind of have to take that with a grain of salt too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's hear your play on this game. It's with one of the pitchers, right?
Yeah. So it's one of those plays where you look at your research and then you go to the odds and you're surprised that it's one way or another. I think there's too much hype on the Angels coming out of Miami. Again, you got the whole travel thing that I said I would talk about on this podcast. Boston's actually been on the West Coast this whole time, while the Angels have traveled up and down the East Coast and are now traveling the whole way across the country, just like Tom just did. So they're jet lagged, they're tired, and I like Cutter Crawford looked amazing in the first game. So the way I want to play this is, and again, there's other safer ways to play, but Cutter Crawford to record a win at plus 230. Cutter looked amazing, even in the pit. Even if it was the pitcher-friendly ballpark in Seattle, he looked great. His stuff looked good in the spring. Canning was worse at home and worse at night, with a 4-6 record at night last season. And Cutter actually has pitched well, not only now in Seattle, but last season. Throughout the season, he pitched well on the West Coast. So he travels well. He pitches well on the road. And the Red Sox, when they put it all together, they can put up runs. So I like Cutter Crawford to get through. Again, to record a win, he has to play at least 5 innings. The Boston Red Sox need to be up after 5 and keep that lead throughout the rest of the game. So we've hit a number of those so far this season already, and I like Cutter to hit again tonight.
Yeah, I like that play. I'm not too familiar with him, but just looking purely from an odds standpoint, the Red Sox to win the game are minus 104, and the Angels are minus 112. So it's basically like a pick'em game. And yet the starting pitcher is getting plus 230 odds. So I think that's why this one was jumping off as like really good value, especially given how sluggish the Angels might be coming out of the gates.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I think that's it for our player props. We got 2 game props to circle back to, and both of these are one's for a 4 p.m. game, one's for a 7 p.m. game. So let's go to the Padres Giants at 4 p.m. Padres are 4-5 on the season. I like to call the Padres like the West Coast Mets. They basically have like the same hype that the Mets always have, and kind of put up the same results. Giants are 2-5, also having a rough season. Giants are favored in this game, -120 at home, and we got Cease and Hicks going up against each other. What do you like here?
I like that West Coast Mets thing too. I mean, that's kind of like the Dodgers were the West Coast Yankees, all that money they have. But I like in this play, I like under 4.5 for the first 5 innings. We have Dylan Cease versus Jordan Hicks in this matchup. Both look good. Both have a history of playing well. Both pitchers after their first game have a whip under 0.9, which really lets you know how often they're letting people get on base. It kind of wraps all, walks and run and hits and all that kind of thing, extra bases into one. And both pitchers actually have really good lineups, whether it be a small sample size. The pitchers have good numbers against the opposing lineups. And Ballpark Pal, which shout out to Read the Green, put me on to using more in my research. Ballpark Pal has a factor of -8% runs and -32% home runs in this game. So they factor in ballpark, weather and all that to give you a certain percentage of, hits, extra bases, home runs. And so I like those numbers to solidify the play I was already thinking of today with under 4.5.
Beautiful. Love that. I could definitely see that happening. I'm gonna have to check out that Ballpark Pal as well. Sounds
cool.
That's
such an interesting take on like NBA. You don't think about that. Everything, it's indoors, right? It's like such another variable to take a look at with inexperienced MLB bettors like Dave and I.
Yeah, I mean, you have weather, you have dimensions, you have atmosphere. Like it's a lot of variables in baseball that you got to consider, and a lot of things that people don't consider. So if you're looking at that, you can really get an edge.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up with our. I would say this is probably my favorite play of the day because it's my favorite pitcher in the league to talk about. We got the Phillies and the Nats, 2-4, both of them. Phillies are -185 again. East, 2 teams that are really just underperforming in the NL East. And we got Nola and Corbin going tonight. Corbin with his 8.31 ERA. It's got to be something with Patrick Corbin. What do you like there?
Yeah, so on this one, I'm taking the Phillies -0.5 point in the first 5 innings. The best odds were -130 at FanDuel. And I love Corbin to get crushed here. Honestly, if this pitching matchup had better weather, I'd probably take the over 4.5 for the first half of the game because Nola can be hard to trust at times. But I like the Phillies to just get after Patrick Corbin. Corbin gave up 4 earned runs on 7 hits in his first outing and has a bad history versus the Phillies. Outside of one weird outing last season where he had 7 walks, but only 1 run allowed, which normally doesn't happen. Before that, he allowed versus the Phillies 7, 5, 6, 9, 6, 4, and 4 versus the Phillies in his previous 7 outings. So I do like the Phillies to get after Corbin quick and and take it home for us in the first half.
I love that play. I kind of feel that this guy would not be in the league if he didn't have that massive contract. Is that a fair statement?
I mean, there's definitely some pitchers out there that you love to fade every year. You know what I mean? I think it was a couple years ago. It was Kuchel. I never say his name right, but he traveled to a couple different teams, and it was always fun to fade him. I'm going to fade Corbin when I can and Lance Lynn when I can a lot this season, for example. So, it's always nice to find those kind of pitchers.
It's like fading. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say it's like fading Zach Wilson or something like that. You find those quarterbacks that you're like, this guy, no way.
Yep.
So I love those.
I don't know, man. You were playing Zach Wilson by the end of the NFL season, so I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the life of a Jets fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Up and down.
So listen to this. Corbin is signed a 6-year contract from 2019 to 2024. So this is the last year of his contract. It was a 6-year, $140 million contract. This year he's getting paid, with money deferred, $35 million this year to go out there and put up a 9 ERA. So I tell you that because after this season, he'll be 35 years old and an unrestricted free agent. Don't see a long history forward for Corbin. So get your Corbin bets in. Make all the money you can this year because this might be the last year to cash.
We'll be seeing him in Korea next year.
Yes, exactly. K-ball. So that does it. I think these are great plays, nice and simple. We got some player props. We got some first 5 plays. I love those, especially early in the season. And I think we're going to continue a successful run. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good matchups this weekend. I think Baltimore is going to take Pittsburgh tomorrow in that matchup. But there's a lot of fun things to watch. I'll be at PNC Park Sunday, so maybe I'll put out some live plays. And, I'll have those in the Discord and a couple on Twitter. So thanks for having me, guys. Sorry about not having a hat today. I hate putting this bald head on the internet, but I had to make it work in the car today.
We're loving it.
You're looking good.
All right. Nice work, boys. Appreciate it, both of you. And let's get these bets in and let's all make some money tonight.
See you guys.
See ya.